You've been all over the world with your cannabis work, and man, I'm sure you have a ton of different stories. You've seen so many different cannabis cultures. The first thing I want to ask you is, what are your thoughts on this emerging sector of cannabis tourism within the U.S. and globally, and some of those stories that you might have from your cannabis travels abroad that you might share with us?
Sure. Okay. At the end of the day, look, we're having this connection right here. And while that's great, Greg, there is nothing like being able to reach out and actually touch someone, right? So cannabis brings us together. So of course, the idea of travel for communal get-togethers goes hand in hand with cannabis, and that's one of the best parts of the whole cannabis community and this growth that we have. And more minds means more innovation. So we have the opportunity at this point to constantly 24/7 be exchanging information. But once we come together, we exchange our energies at the same time, and the mastermind thinking, the understanding, the well-being, all of that skyrockets when we are together. So it's no wonder that resorts are popping up all over the world that are about cannabis and feeling good and resorting our mindset and understanding that our wellness and our health is our wealth. And I'm all for it. I'm all for it here in the United States and abroad. I have had the blessing, coming here. It's just only been 7 years, and I've been all over the country teaching about hash making, meeting up with people, sometimes just for a good party or just to lend a good ear. I think all of that is essential for the entire cannabis experience. And then on the global stage, we have a tendency to be very provincial. So let's be honest, California is just like, no one's weed matters but us. We're California. The whole world loves Cali weed. And while that's great, it is very nice and eye-opening and horizon expanding to be able to interact with other cultures and the way they've done cannabis for a long time. Because the truth of the matter is that cannabis didn't come from California. Cannabis didn't come from the United States. So when I go over to Barcelona, which somehow has become the international meeting point. It was Amsterdam for a while, but it's definitely Barcelona for the last couple of years. You meet people from everywhere, like everywhere, with different mindsets, different reasons, different impetus, and that's the drive. Everyone I know in the cannabis industry, with the whole thing that has happened with COVID, the thing that we have talked about the most is, when can we get back generally to Barcelona so that we can just start our lives again? And that's because cannabis keeps us knitted together. When, just to be vulnerable for a second, back in 2019, when I had a mushroom trip that made me realize that I was using cannabis very disrespectfully. I was using a lot of hash to tamp down my feelings, frustration with my career, with my personal life, and whatever. And that trip, I realized that my happiest times in the last couple of years have been in Barcelona, because what happens when I get there is everybody cares about cannabis. Everybody, not all of Barcelona, that'd be a lie, but the reason why we're there is for Cannabis or some other event. It's just a meeting of the minds. And of course, there've been all kinds of good stories with those. Some of them a little bit illegal. So let me just think for a second. But let me tell you about, I went to Mexico a little bit less than 2 years ago to teach hash making. And it's not like such an amazing story, but this just makes me feel good. Okay. I went to Mexico, and although my family is Panamanian, I'm a first generation Panamanian American. My understanding of Spanish is spot on. That's why I can go to Barcelona and be fine. But I get very nervous about responding, or the idea of teaching in Spanish for something as particular as hash making. No, that doesn't really occur to me. So I was in Mexico to teach hash making with an interpreter whose primary language was Portuguese. but he was translating in his head Portuguese to Spanish and then explaining. And the words passed through me to him, and he was like relaying it. And like I said, I understand. And it was coming out so well with a little extra flair that was so nice. And when it was time for the students to make hash themselves, because that's how I teach, rather than just like in a lecture situation, but we're going to make hash and then you're going to make hash yourself. They were on point, and you could see the aha moments. And I live for those aha moments. Like, I just live for those. Oh, but Duchess, like, pero, for them, it was like, pero. And I was like, oh, they're getting it. And whereas I could like regale you about how I got arrested and how I beat my case and all that, the thing that really matters to me within cannabis is everybody having the opportunity to take control and get themselves smiling like this. Okay, don't want to make it seem like just smiling. I smile happily because I can determine what goes in my body. Cannabis is a super important part of it, and I can make it myself. So if I can encourage anyone to do that same thing, or making hash, which is not difficult, it really just comes down to paying attention, then that sense of independence, that's more than anything to me. Oh my God, I'm about to get emotional.